Hello and welcome again to Talking Threads, the Textile Innovation Show with me, Fiona Harron.
And me, Jessica Owen.
This week is all about 3D technologies and how they are being utilised across the textile and apparel industry.
Yes, in recent years, 3D technology has come on in leaps and bounds, and therefore it is becoming much more widely adopted by brands, retailers, designers, and so on. For example, companies are utilising 3D models to improve size and fit, to knit garments in one piece to reduce waste, or to visualise how clothes might look like on the body virtually.
Yes, we'll be hearing from a couple of these companies shortly, but first let's take a look at this week's news. Spinova and wood pulp producer Suzano will make an estimated €22 million investment to build the first commercial-scale production facility in Finland. The total investment is estimated to be some €50 million. Spinova's sustainable fibre, created out of wood and waste without the use of harmful chemicals, will be available for global textile brands in 2022.
Elsewhere, Tenkate Protective Fabrics has developed a new PFAS-free finish called FreeFas for the fire service industry. This new safer and more sustainable finish will be commercially available from spring 2021, and it will replace legacy finishes as market demands for traditional solutions subside.
Alchemy Technology has received investment from @One Ventures and H&M Collab to accelerate the commercial rollout of its digital manufacturing products Endeavour Smart Waterless Dyeing and Navara Precision Digital Finishing. Alchemy's industrial solutions are said to offer a lower cost, higher throughput and radically more sustainable alternative to traditional textile processing.
And finally, Tomra and Stadler have delivered the world's first fully automated textile sorting plant in Sweden, which sorts pre- and post-consumer mixed textile waste. The plant is part of the Swedish Innovation Platform for Textile Sorting, a government-funded project which aims to develop a sorting solution tailored to the needs of textile recyclers and the garment industry.
Now on to today's show, and our first guest is the CEO of Wear, Greg Moore. He talks me through the company's new AI-driven size and fit solution for the fashion industry that aims to bring fit precision to the online shopping experience. So hi Greg, thanks for joining me today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Hiya. So I understand that late last year Wear introduced a new size and fit solution to improve the online shopping experience, something that we've all been doing a lot of lately. So can you tell me more about it?
So last year, we've been working on this for several years, but we saw a pretty big problem in the market where as consumer shopping habits shifted towards more of an online e-commerce strategy, given obviously that brick and mortar stores were closed, that strategy accelerated in 2020, and we expect that to continue. And we noticed that during this trend, a lot of challenges with size selection and fit were very paramount and sort of in the front of minds for both consumers and for brands. And so one of the opportunities that we saw was that consumers are more open towards shifting their brand allegiances. So I think that McKinsey put out a report and said anywhere between 70 and 80% of consumers are open to shifting to new brands. But when you shift to a new brand, you don't exactly know how that brand's going to fit your body, right? And so what we did, we developed a solution where we have the ability to ask the consumer, 7 questions or so. And then we can predict the measurements of the consumer's body just through that simple intake quiz. From there, then we understand the sizing strategy and the different size ranges for each of the garments that we can recommend. And we can recommend the best fitting size for that person as the designer had intended. And then also show the consumer how variations of sizes, right? If you go size down or size up, how those are going to fit the body. So they have a really good understanding of interweaving their fit preferences in with the design intent behind the clothing in the first place. So really excited about it. It's a pretty simple e-commerce plugin that sits on sites, and it's providing some really big uptick in opportunity, which the brands that we're working with are loving, and it's expanding very quickly.
Excellent. And this focus on reducing returns and waste through accurate sizing is something that I'm sure a lot of brands and retailers welcome. So how do you work with companies to help them adopt your AI technology?
Yeah, it's a good question. So the first thing, we kind of look at sizing as a cycle. And I think this is where we depart from other vendors in our space. So for example, if you change your marketing campaign and all of a sudden, let's say, shoot your photographs on more inclusive body shapes, that's going to drive a different body shape of consumer to your platform, whereby changing around your sizing strategy from an inventory management perspective, changing around how you should do your marketing, and changing around how you should do your grading rules in the first place. And so what we look to do is the first thing we do is we integrate with brands on their e-commerce site, right? It's a pretty simple little JavaScript plugin that they'll add onto their themes. We will then interpret all their sizing of the garments and the products on the backside based on some IP that we've created to do so all through software. And then we will then map those new sizing constructs to the products. As soon as we do that, then the product's live and we start taking in reviews and other returns and purchasing information to further hone that in. One of the big drivers behind how companies are using us from a more vertically integrated approach, not just this last mile, is that with every single prediction or every single use, we're literally predicting the body dimensions of that shopper. And so then we have tools where we can go through and build out these body populations. We can look at the sizing strategy of that brand and let them understand what their fit coverage is, right? What's their propensity of their clothing to fit the consumers that are shopping on their sites. We then have further tools to help them understand what their size run forecasting should be based on different products, based on different regions and channels, because we're tracking location information as well. And then we also have the ability to understand how their marketing campaigns are driving in a variation of body shapes. So for example, let's say that you've sold through all of your smaller sizes on a hero product. Right now, you're not thinking about your ad space to only drive in bodies that fit the available sizes. But we've got the ability to help those brands manipulate their ad spends to drive in body shapes that fit the available sizes in inventory currently. And so when you put all this together, it offers this really integral solution to helping these brands align with the body shapes of their consumers. And we think that's kind of the solution to the Achilles heel of the sizing problem that our industry has faced for so long.
Well, that's a really innovative tool there that responds to the industry's need for new data on apparel sizing. And in a time when e-commerce has become the primary means of purchasing apparel, it is important that brands find new ways of engaging with consumers and promoting brand loyalty. So I'm sure many will be looking to new technologies like this.
Yes, especially considering that consumers are more open to shifting their brand allegiances right now, as Greg mentioned. So hopefully this will enable brands to gain a competitive edge while helping to drive down overproduction of clothing.
Yes, well, now it's time for a short video from this week's sponsor, Volumental. And after that, we'll be talking to WTIN's Otis Robinson and 3D Look's CEO and co-founder, Vadim Rogofsky.
Yeah. Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah.
Loaded.
Yeah. What? Yeah.
Welcome back everyone. Now to provide some further insight into 3D technologies, we are joined in the studio by WTIN's very own Otis Robinson. So Otis, thank you very much for joining us today. So we've just heard from Greg at Wear about their fit and size solution. What other companies do you know of who are utilising 3D technologies?
So 3D solutions kind of cover a broad area in the industry at the minute. There's 3D scanning companies which are mainly targeted at e-commerce kind of end of use areas. But then there's kind of 3D design tools and an increased focus on 3D fabric simulation. So this is kind of for brands in the product development sector. And as kind of digitalization increases, more and more are popping up. A few examples would be Pixel Pool, which is kind of aimed at brands and retail environments. Then there's most recently Keyshots Railcloth, which is kind of able to simulate unique fabric qualities like flyaway fibers and fuzz to make them appear more realistic. And also more recently, Cotton Ink recently digitalized its cotton library for use on Clear 3D and Browseware. So overall, it's becoming more and more common to hear the term 3D wherever you turn in industry.
That's very interesting. And so what are the benefits of 3D technology? I know, for instance, that sustainability is often talked about.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we're looking solely at 3D design tools, then aside the kind of immediate kind of cool qualities of being able to work on a simulated garment, there are a range of kind of workflow and other benefits like sustainability. First of all, it saves kind of valuable workflow time because by working in kind of an interoperable design space and simulating that fabric pattern and drape, brands can kind of reduce time and resources needed to produce, approve, send and kind of receive samples. So this kind of hits the two birds with one stone that you were talking about, so to speak, because it kind of helps brands improve their sustainability efforts by kind of cutting back the need for physical samples.
And so 3D is still a relatively new concept, although it's gaining quite a bit of traction in the industry. So what's driving the adoption of 3D technologies then?
So I think immediately, first and foremost, the driver is digitalization. People are kind of really looking to stay ahead of the curve at the minute by adopting kind of the latest technologies. But simultaneously, there's kind of this real focus on resiliency as well as efficiency these days. This has obviously been emphasized in the past year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Designers are kind of, they kind of needed effective and fast solutions to interruptions in the supply chain. And kind of 3D design technology really offered that. I think if we go back to sustainability, this is also a key driver because of the industry's growing desire to cut back on kind of the wasteful processes like physical sampling. And kind of when we think about 3D scanning technologies for end users, so for example, garment fitting purposes, then the main driver is kind of the dwindling retail experience. By adopting these kind of technologies, brands can really give their consumers a unique experience.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Otis. That was really interesting. Okay, well, finally then today we will hear from Vadim Rogofsky, who is the CEO and co-founder of 3D Look, to tell us more about his company's body scanning and measuring technology.
So for those who don't know of 3D Look, tell me about your company and what you do exactly.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me here. So 3D Look is a global leader in contactless body measuring and size recommendations using just mobile devices. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So how is your technology applied then?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, our solutions for retailers and apparel manufacturers are based on our unique AI technology, which basically needs just two photos, the front and side photo taken by any smartphone with a camera, to instantly we just need two photos to instantly obtain accurate body measurements and size, and then we can provide accurate size and fit recommendation for a particular person.
Right, okay. So I spoke to your co-founder, actually, Whitney Cathcart, towards the end of last year. Yeah, and she said that your company's experienced tremendous growth, actually, since COVID-19. So why is that, and what else is sort of driving technologies such as yours?
That's true. Actually, last year was really very successful for us. We grew 5.4 times since the beginning of last year. And why? And the main reason probably is that we found product market fit. Like we found a sweet spot in a uniform manufacturing market, first of all. So imagine these companies that serve military, that serve law enforcement, like policemen, that serve firefighters, across the US or Europe, or medical workers, et cetera, et cetera. So they all experience the process of getting all these workers, all these, let's say, policemen or soldiers or firefighters, the process to get all of them measured and fitted the process hasn't changed for almost 100 of years. So basically, it's very long, it's very expensive. You need some people to fly to all the locations to measure people manually, especially during the lockdown. It was not even possible. So we provided these companies with fully digital solutions to get all these people instantly measured and fitted just using their smartphones. And and also we had some successes in fashion retail as well. For example, we launched with Taylor Brands, one of the biggest men's wear retailers in the US. So basically, it was a very good year, and this year we are planning to capitalize further on that growth, and we have even more ambitious goals.
Right, interesting. So 3D sort of technology is still relatively quite new. And I think Whitney, when we spoke, said that actually there's not enough people skilled in this area. So is that true? And what are the other challenges that you still need to overcome?
If we speak about 3D designers or even developers who work with fundamental technologies that basically make 3D rendering of garments, etc., possible. There's not a lot of them. They basically what we do so we are in active hiring mode now, by the way, and we are mostly when we look either for 3D developers or maybe 3D designers, we look at adjacent spaces, at adjacent markets or adjacent industries, and we can hire people who are experienced in maybe adjacent technology stack, and just we give them all the basically opportunities to learn and to switch to get trained to switch to the stack that we need to 3D to basically 3D related stack. Yeah. So basically we hope that more companies will do the same. And because there is not a lot of people, as you said, it's right, who can actually, work with 3D. But this year, hopefully, it can change. Yeah.
Okay, I see. So finally, then, what are 3D Look's plans for the future? And do you think we'll see more of these companies, such as yours, as well?
Well, when I started this company, my original vision was, and it's still the same. Is to create to introduce a new standard in personalization for every industry, not only apparel, for every industry that needs personalization based on human bodies. So think apparel is just the most obvious example, but think about car seats, think about customized mattresses, think about even fitness apps so you can track your progress just using your body data, or think about using your 3D avatar in a game. So there are a lot of industries where you can use your body data, your measurements, your avatar in order to get more personalized experience. So that's what we want to redefine. We want to become the de facto standard in all these industries, and to bring body data intelligence into them.
It's interesting to see that the company is doing well in the uniform sector. That's not necessarily an area you'd immediately think of, but I suppose these people are living in the same clothes day in and day out, and so the perfect size and fit is essential for being comfortable while on the job.
Yeah, exactly. I also thought it was interesting to hear that the company would like to branch out and apply its technology to, say, mattresses and even car seats. Again, application areas that wouldn't have immediately come to my mind, but I can certainly see the opportunity there.
Definitely. Well, that's all we've got time for today, but join us again next week for our final episode in the series, which looks into the digital future of fabric sourcing. We'll be joined by guests from the Wool Lab, Digital and Cordura, so make sure you tune in.
See you then.